This podcast is made for fun and is not subsidized. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. Hi everyone, welcome to Orinda Talks Fantasy and Sci-Fi. I'm your host Orinda, and today we are talking about Star Trek the original series with a good friend of mine, Marc 7. Star Trek is an American science fiction television series created by Gene Roddenberry that follows the adventures of the starship the USS Enterprise and its crew. The show is set in the Milky Way galaxy circa 2020-60. The ship and crew are led by Captain James T. Kirk, First Officer and Science Officer Spock, and Chief Medical Officer Leonard Bones McCoy. Everyone who knows me knows I am a big Trekkie. I am that crazy about Star Trek that our own house is like a small Star Trek museum. I can talk for hours about Star Trek, what I like and what I don't like. But my first introduction to Star Trek was the first episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. Halfway the first season of TNG, I started to watch TOS, and although it was not that fun as TNG, I did appreciate it. My favorite characters is of course Spock, Bones, and Nurse Chapel. I have a few favorite episodes as well, like Amok Time, Shore Leave, The Trouble with Tribbles, and of course Spock's Brain. That was a brilliant episode. I love Bones' humor and how he and Spock's relationship is. What I also love about TOS is the lessons and the future vision of Gene Roddenberry. Our guest today is Marc 7. He's a good friend of mine. He has a love for sci-fi. Hello Marc, thank you for joining me again.
My pleasure, thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, Star Trek, the original series. How did it start for you? Did you watch it when it first came out, or did you start watching it later?
Well, I started to watch it in Brazil more or less in 1970 or 1971, when after the cancel of the series in America, it started to go to a syndication and to be distributed for many kinds of TV channels, and the TV channels were so independent at that time. There were no satellites or the things we had today. The TV channel needed to buy the series to get authorization to transmit it, and that's how I found Star Trek. At the time, I was already a very fan for science fiction. I had 9 years old. I was 9 years old at the time. But to meet a new kind of sci-fi, taking mankind seriously in an optimistic way, that was new for me. I believe Star Trek made me to give a form to my way to like science fiction. I liked that so much, and I started to follow everything I could. For sometimes we proceed alone in this. We didn't have internet, like I said, and we to find someone who also loved the show was very difficult. So most of the time I was alone, searching for things that I loved.
What do you like about it?
I like mostly the technology. I like the way people can survive and produce a better lifestyle using technology, using science, not to build weapons, not to destroy, but to build alliances, to make friendships, and mostly to transform an enemy in a friend. And all this you can do with technology, with goodwill, and mostly with, how can I say, wisdom. You know, this is what I like in Star Trek.
Yeah, I think also that it suits people because it's also, yes, it is future, but it also, uh, with technology, you can come far. Like I said before about, for example, with, and I'm going to talk about Jodie LaForge's visor. They already invented that.
You mentioned the phasers. Sorry.
No, what I mean about Jodie LaForge's visor, the
Ah, Vice.
that's already invented. But
Yes, Star Trek shows many ways to improve life. The visor was a way to make someone who was born blind to see. And we see many people in Star Trek. In Deep Space Nine, I saw a woman that lived in a planet with a very low gravity. So she needed all time to be using an armor to walk around. Here in the third season of Discovery, we saw a man, a scientist, that was walking in what seems to be a floating chair, because it was not because of the character itself, it because the real actor had a very serious problem. So they came up with that idea that allowed him to be an actor and to be a character, and nothing stood in the way of each other. We always see Star Trek bring better life to us.
yeah, and I think so. Of course, the TOS is a series in the 60s. Um, what I really enjoyed of that was that it's futuristic, but it also has life lessons in it. And Gene Roddenberry had a great vision of the future, but also about mankind, because he put some real life lessons in the episodes that I was thinking, all right, even now we can learn from that. How's your experience with that?
Well, I experience everything every day about that. The most nice example I have from this is what the time of Nichelle Nichols tried to give up the show at the end of the first season. She came to Gene Roddenberry and told him, "I'm leaving the show. I am a singer. I want to do my career." And Gene Roddenberry asked, "Are you sure?"
Well,
And
that was what that was the beautiful thing of it. It was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. who told her, "You
yes,
can't
yes,
stop." I really love that. I really still want to share that with her. That I'm so glad that she listened to him.
yes, and this is not the only example. You see, he was trying to show that mankind can work united. Mankind can be a sample, not only for us, but for everyone, or every other species around us. So that's why Jonathan Archer, alone in his efforts, was able to germinate the Federation itself. So the Federation is an extension of mankind with the lessons we need to learn to get there. So Gene Roddenberry has a very profound message to mankind, and it's now our job to listen that or not.
What do you think of what is? Do you have any favorite characters in the show, and can you identify yourself with those characters?
Well, I am known in my communities to I did not identify to anyone. I created my own my own species. They are called Adverian, but it's because my way to be is a little different of each one of the characters in there. But if I can to be closer to anyone in the TOS series, that will be James Kirk.
Is there something about him that you like, or is it just the way he is being a captain, or?
No, not only. To be a good captain in a starship needs many qualities, and the most big of them is to be wise and to be a master of strategy. And Kirk is a master on that, and his leadership is the personification to bring a group to follow him and know where to go and provide success to any any one of them that are following him. This is the magic of to be a leader, a good leader, and this is what I really admire in James Kirk.
Well, we talked also about, we both have watched some episodes back. The one you said was the manage of, and the pilot episode, the cage. If we, because you, and that's really is funny to see actually.
Mhm.
When you see the manage, it's flashbacking back to the cage when they were on Talos 4. Do you see any specific changes in how they tell the story? Because it is a very heavy subject, because of course Spock is being on trial and Kirk doesn't understand why and what he would do, and of course we have Captain Pike, who is invalid now because of his accident with fire. Um, what what are your thoughts about that episode?
That episode was what Star Trek should be from the beginning, and that's why that episode was refused by the producers because they made them think how hard can be for a person to think. So they refused that episode, and even so, they give the chance to make another one who had not so profound questions to be, so profound things to think about. But slowly, Star Trek came to other stories that made people need to think too, and that was the magic of Star Trek. Some things that problems that were taken to the future, were taken to outer space, but they are happening here now. So no matter if we have Pike or Kirk, we have in the cage we had many characters that were starting to be molded, and Spock was the most important of needed captain as the center of the story, but the people who helped him. And Spock had a complete other way to see things, and that helped Kirk and the crew many times. So the cage was the start, the base of develop a good idea, and they made it so greatly, and everything worked so nice. Unfortunately, it was too earlier for that age for everybody see that, but eventually they came to see.
The funny part was, I have seen a little bit more of TOS back, and the episodes that I saw, that in a way it was a little funny because, like, I think about 50% of the episodes, Spock was showing emotions, and we all know Vulcans don't show their emotions unless they have to, and that's what I think I like about the way Ethan Peck is playing Spock. He played the very young Spock, as he still have to trouble with not showing him as his emotions, etc., etc. And then you have Leonard Nimoy, who played the first Spock and is really Spock, and is also, I think he molded Spock as he was. But what I wanted to say is that it's very nice to see, although he acts most of the time like a Vulcan, he also can explore and show his emotions. Like, I was watching Amok Time, of course, at the end, Kirk died. Well, not really died, but um, when Spock came back on the ship and he told Bones of, I will give the command over and I have to be going on trial what I did. And he thought was Kirk was dead, but he wasn't. And his
Hmm.
reaction after that was really what I really always loved, that the reaction of him. He was so happy that Kirk wasn't dead,
Yeah.
and then you see his reaction. Oh shit! I showed my emotions.
Look at that and said, Jim! It
Yeah.
was an explosion of emotion, and he until the end of his life does not admit that. But I was watching Charlie X, and I saw
Mm,
he and I saw him smiling when he was playing to Uhura,
yeah.
and I saw where no man has gone before. He was talking about chess with Kirk in the starting of the episode, and he was smiling too. So there were many times we saw him smiling, and we almost don't remember. But in defense of Spock, he have the advantage or the disadvantage to be half human. So
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to see that his human part sometimes comes out, and the whole Star Trek scenes, the whole Spock stories, we see the conflict of him taking care of his humanity and at the same time to be a good Vulcan.
Yeah, I really love that, and they really have done that too. And I'm going to refer that as in Star Trek Discovery, but
Yeah.
Spock also in, for example, in Spock's Brain, the episode Spock's Brain. I really love that episode, and um, the funny part of that was when Koi did operated on Spock, and Spock has his ability and brains back in his body. He started to talk and talk and talk, and uh,
I remember that.
Kirk and McCoy was saying, "Oh damn, we shouldn't have done that because he's only gonna talk like Vulcan again." That's
Yeah.
just, we shouldn't have done that, but that was really a nice moment as well. I really loved that episode, and you could see how strong that triangle really is, like Bones, Kirk, and Spock.
Yes, I like this point you touched because it remembered me something interesting. Did you ever face fear situation, but when someone beside you start to scream, start to give herself to the fear, you feel yourself more courageous? Did you ever
Mm-hmm.
feel that?
Yeah.
So I believe that what helped Spock to be more and more Vulcan in the ship was when McCoy started to serve with him, because he is so emotional. He's so
Yeah.
every problem he say with all those emotions, and he doesn't spare words to say that. And that attitude of McCoy, he always remember the bad part of human Spock have it's himself. So McCoy, Kirk, and Spock, the three together helped Spock to be a better Vulcan and to be even so a better officer. Those three completed himself as a person the way he is.
Well, I think not only they help Spock, but it's they help each other in it, and
Yeah,
that's what I really love. For example, the friendship Bones and Spock has, because it's really funny. Bones has always some kind of like a sarcastic return to Spock, and Spock will answer him logical, and to him is like a Vulcan,
yeah,
and that combination makes really funny. And although I am not a fan of the J.J. Abrams Star Trek. Although I need to say the comedy between Bones and Spock in there is really funny, and I
Yeah.
know it happens, but that's what I also see in TOS, and it is so funny sometimes how they work together, how they not only as officers but also as friends.
Yes, the best work you can be is the work where you can be efficient and have fun at the same time. Those three shared some friendship, strongly friendship, and they could help each other in a way that like the gears of a clock, you know, they needed each other and they helped each other. That was amazing achievement in the series.
Yeah, and I think if we are going to have about Ahura, Ahura was the first black person, if I can say it like that. I don't mean it in a disrespectful way, but uh, she was the first color person who really have a big role in Star Trek, and she inspired a lot of people. Also in Star Trek itself, I do think it's a way of Gene Roddenberry to show there are no limits in the future.
The only limits is ourselves. The only limits is our limitations, our cultural limitations, our preconcept limitations, our our way not to forgive someone who is close to us. If even some conflict happens, there was some prejudice, people dying on our side and their side. Even so, when they came to a conclusion that to work for peace is the best thing to do. You seem to be you seem that appears to see that everybody forgive everyone. You know, at the end of the episode, they seem to be forgotten all the died, all who died, and started to work together. So those are things possible, very hard to do today, but they are possible. And that was what Gene Roddenberry shown to us.
Yeah, and I think he was a daredevil to uh, put some, I don't want to say lessons, but more like issues what society had with in that time and still have. Like for example, the first kiss between Uhura and Kirk was the first interracial kiss in that way on TV, and till today, they also people are talking about that.
Yes, but racism is a problem. Why exactly people are talking about that? We are people. We are human beings. We can talk with everyone. We can be with everyone. There's no problem, nor physical for caused by color or shape of the eyes or things like that. We had Uhura, we had Sulu there, and not long ago when we had Sulu, there was a big war against Japan. So Sulu is there, you know. It's not a matter of a kiss, of a war, or to shoot someone, and just because he doesn't look like us. So Star Trek is there to show that in the future we don't care anymore about that. Those matters, history, are takes of mankind. They should be forgotten. They should be forgiven. So we can look forward, live long and prosper, as they say.
Yeah, I think Star Trek is like showing us the diversity of cultures, of species, of everything in that way.
Indeed, we always remember the IDIC. Infinite diversity leads to infinite combinations. So to teach this world that we can use our differences to help us instead to destroy our differences and search for a pattern, a standardization of something, is the wrong way. We can use diversity in our favor. That's what Star Trek tried to say all the time. And we all here still trying to find a way to make it practical.
Do you have any favorite episodes of Star Trek TOS?
Well, I love all episodes. Every time I have something to learn, but the episode who taught to me more deal of things was the city in the edge of tomorrow. That episode touched me about time travel and its consequences. Well, no matter what today astrophysics thinks about time travel, but that story was so well done, and so it's so fixed in my mind that those are lessons to carry on. So I love that episode, that the city in the edge of forever.
Is that also an episode that you like to advise people to watch if they aren't like a fan of Star Trek or?
Well, there is the case of the racism we just talked. There are that episode of those two guys who are half black and half white,
Mm.
but they were in the contrary sides, and that is also a very interesting theme to be discussed and to be forgot. You know, this is the those are the things we need to forget. We need to put behind us, and that episode shows a nice way to see that.
I think also one of my favorite episodes. Well, I'm gonna say two episodes now. It's that the episodes when Kirk and Spock went back to the 60s and into the mafia. That was one
Yeah,
I really liked, but also the one with all the gods. Can't remember the name now, but that's
mm,
they were like prisoners of, I can't remember if it was Julius Caesar or Apollo. I can't remember, but that was one of the episodes that I also like because it's just a nice story as well. Not only there is a lesson behind of how people can be or are, and but it is just also nice. I think the writers have done a great job with writing it.
nice. You see that those three episodes explore our beliefs, our that came from the past. We have the piece of an action that was placed in a planet that lived in the 40 and in 50 years. To the mafia was the way to be. This is something came from our past. We have also those that episode that when they go to the Nazis were
Mm-hmm.
ruling the planet. Another lesson from the past. Then we have that episode that we had a witch and a big black cat pursuing them, and
Oh, that was funny. The episode with, I can't
yeah,
remember that the black cat was really liking Spock.
yeah, but no, no, that was time annihilation
Mm.
with Gary Seven. I'm not talking about that. There was a woman that put Kirk, Spock, and Scotty in the dungeon, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and tried to convert them, but there was only taken from human minds. Like they didn't like the way the witches were ruling on that castle.
Mm-hmm.
Another lesson from our past. And then came Who Mourns from Adonis, where Apollo tried to be a god again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting how many lessons Star Trek can make us look to the past and think about all of them again. So it always we think about our past. We are traveling to our future with more lessons, with more wisdom, and we have a better capacity to take decisions.
Yeah, and that's what I like about TOS as well. And of course, it's very known that Jane Roddenberry did that on purpose, but also on to let you think, for example, about the history, etc., etc. There was something else I wanted to say, but I forgot.
There must be an episode that can help us treat our memory.
Yeah, we got more episodes to do, right? Oh, yeah, that was I just that was the episode with Trouble with Tribbles. That was the first time I saw again that the first Klingons didn't have ridges.
Yeah, the Klingons were inspired in the Russians at
Hmm.
the in the time of the Cold War, and they were fierce. They loved some fight. They have their codes. They have their how can I say, imperialism, the
Mm-hmm.
way to go and conquer, and it's mine, and get out of here or I'll destroy you, etc., etc. So the Klingons evolved in this concept to the and their appearances changed in the movie, yeah? Star Trek, the movie, the
Mm-hmm.
first movie, and
Motion
they
pictures, yeah.
there we saw a new face of the Klingons, and it stays for a long time because there is also a belief that your temperament, your personality deforms your face, so you can be read. uh, uh, Someone who looks to your face can read your personality, so that can help us to understand why they made the Klingons that ugly. And we see in the first year of discovery they wanted to push this idea further, and many people did not like that.
Yeah, me included, to be
Oh
honest.
yeah, oh yeah.
And
Well,
that's what is one thing I really have a problem with Discovery is that they changing the uniform so fast and changing things so fast that you can't keep up with it. And one thing I love about TOS is that it's not only telling a story, but it is also, although I must say in the beginning the uniforms didn't work correct as we know now. And you see, I think it was the first season that um, also Spock uh, wore the yellow uniform
mhm.
instead of the blue uniform, etc.
Yeah.
And I hear many people talking about that they were not really consequent with the uniforms at that time for the first season.
Yeah, the Spock wear the yellow because he was the first officer, but he was also versed in science. In the other seasons, he preferred to be more a science officer, more identifiable by his uniform. But he stood his first officer. We see uniform changing in TOS itself, and the uniform of Kirk, Spock, and company changed two times during the movies. We saw in the six
Yeah.
movies, we saw one uniform in the first movie and the other in the other five. So we don't need to care about uniforms. They show that Starfleet was dynamic in that. They try new designs. They try to perfect the tissues to make it easier to make in the replicators. So uh, changes in uniform, this is not that bad in Star Trek, but changes in characters, they do. We see Spock was an almost normal, like human person in the cage, but just in the first season they trying to imprint in him the lack of emotion, and it became more serious and more serious at the to the end of the show, and the fact of he being human allowed him to change whenever he wants. So these changes speak about Star Trek to me as freedom to evolve.
Um, What do you think about the Terran episodes? Or the Mirror episodes?
Well, the mirror episodes, they are charming to many people who wants to see the bad side of a person. But as I want to mankind to evolve, to be better, I really don't pay attention to them.
Is there something that you like about those episodes, or is it just okay? Just watch the episode and that's it.
Yeah, in fact, I am relieved when I see the crew in this original form, not inverted like that. I think to be in the mirror universe was like to be in a disease state for some time and then come back. I don't like it. I don't like to see I will never like to see my counterpart in there because I'm trying to be a better person each time, and I don't want to be seen as a successful man in that universe just because I'm exactly the contrary I like to be. So I really don't like it. I am a progressive man, and that goes just in the other way.
Talking about counterparts, do you remember that episode when they found that doctor on that planet, but he was a robot, but he had the conscience, his conscience in that robot, and he cloned Kirk. That episode reminds me a lot about Data. I don't know what you think about it. It's Can you remember that?
I remember the episode. I don't remember the name. Sorry, but the try to put machines doing what men do and replacing persons with all that they can do is a very frightening concept. Even now, they made that robot Sophia to say, "I will destroy the mankind." So the only thing everybody remembers she said was that. And now Sophia is starting to be mass produced. Everyone can have a Sophia home. So that will frighten some people too. And to think about data was unique. Data
Mm-hmm.
so far, data so far as we know him, he was successful in be all as close as a human person as it's possible to a machine to be. So data is we can't accept data as it will always happen to mankind who build a machine to do what a man should do. We always will see failure. We always will see problems because we are persons with problems. We are persons with imperfection. We will always make something that is not perfect too. So this is what Kirk faced in that time. That man trying to put his imperfection over the imperfections of everyone else. So you see, this is the contrary of what we want to be in the optimist future for mankind.
Do you think that Star Trek will inspire people, and especially young people, to invent in Star Trek to use in the future?
Well, I watched Star Trek for 50 years now. I can't I can promise you that I saw this happening and I will see that happening more and more each year. The more, especially now when they are making so new forms to see Star Trek. We have the new series, the Prodigy, the Star Trek Lower Decks. We have Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So we will see many minds to be feed to be fed by those ideas. And so you see, in 50 years, what so many we achieved. This iPhone that I'm wearing now is something that came from those persons who loved Star Trek and wanted to make it real. So many things we have. Look around. You will see something that was inspired by Star Trek. So yes, there are more people being born, that will love Star Trek and do something for mankind. That's for sure.
If you, and I know you do, you keep following the all space programs, I guess. Is there anything you would say, or what I like? And she also had a little cameo in TNG. She is one of the astronauts on the ESS, and well, I do think we will have technology that has come in Star Trek that also will be now and in the future, because and that's the reason I like more Star Trek than Star Wars, because Star Wars is more fictional than and Star Trek, yeah, yes, it is future, but it is also it will be invented and people are going to use it, the technology then.
Well, something I can suggest to the writers to do with our actual technology and to be seen with the eyes of Star Trek can be happened, can, already happened when Gary Seven came and was in the Saturn V rocket trying to save it. We can do more episodes like that, bring people to the ESS and helping them without them they even know that. We can see people coming to Starbase in Boca Chica, Texas, and helping Elon Musk to make his ship, his starship, to be a fact, to work. So Star Trek can already helping us to get to space. The next stories can show that too. You know? We have plenty of possibilities. We always had.
There's another thing that's coming into mind, and I'm going to. If we are talking about Kirk, of course, has in one way he's the leader, in the other way he's a womanizer, and in the other thing he's always fighting. And we do, of course, know there are video games of Star Trek, but also commercials. And we in the past we had like serials counted with Star Trek, etc. If we are talking about Kirk with his fighting, do you know that there is even a hand manual for Kirk's kung fu?
Yes, it's called Kirk Fu. It's it's not serious. It's just a joke make almost a book in the internet. You can find it somewhere. But the good things of this history is about someone who trained the actors to simulate the fight. They even created the double hand punch.
Did you
The,
know that he really is a black belt? What was it? Black belt Yunyuchi, I guess.
I don't know. I am not specialized in fighting, but this is very interesting to see that Star Trek is related even to self-defense too.
Well, I think in one way you need to, and if you look, for example, to Enterprise, Enterprise is really in timeline the first before TOS even.
Yes.
Um, there are that's the prequel for having red shirts and tactical people on a starship.
Well, the red sheets is a concept created by the producers of the TOS because of the Cold War. Everything was everything that was shown as red. Uh, they they incentivized to be killed against the red flag that was Russian at the time. And Gene Roddenberry didn't like that, and that's why Picard's uniform and all the command stuff is red now. So you see, the red shirt concept is what it was not inside the main messages of Gene Roddenberry. What
Hmm.
can we see? What can we see in the series now, especially in Enterprise? that Archer learned that we can't do smiles all around the space. We need to show people that we are there to be friends, but we know how to defend ourselves. And that's why they have Mako in there, and they learned how to be a better defenses, like not only in the ship, but on the people too. They need to learn how to defend themselves because the the sea out there
The
is
dangers.
have many bigger fishes.
Yeah, it was funny and to see that how Malcolm Reed was very into that of keeping the ship defended and how he was with the Mako commander. That was also funny.
At first, the reaction from Malcolm to the Makos was just jealousy. He was afraid to lose his own position. But in
Yeah,
time, he started to share his heroism with theirs, and they at the end they started to admire each other.
I remember also a episode with when three visitors came to the Enterprise and they were, well, investigating, not investigating, but they wanted to learn how we humans were, etc. And those aliens, or one of the aliens, had a drinking contest with Scotty. That was one of the fun pieces as well. Scotty, I always have lost Scotty. He is one for the technical bubble, but also he really, really, really loves the Enterprise. And
Yes,
I remember in the trouble with the trouble with tribbles that the Klingons were insulting not only Kirk but then also the Enterprise, and that made him fight.
yeah. So it remembers me the Elvis music. Uh, you can you can punch my face, you can put me in the floor, but don't step on my blue swing shoes. So Scotty loves his ship. He loves because engineering and put those machines to work is his life. So the closer you offend his things that have something to do with his personal life, well, take care. Scotty will react.
Yeah, and you know that Kirk's face at that moment that Scotty didn't react on that Kirk was being insulted by the Klingon, and that was so funny. I really laughed about it, and also
Yeah,
when they discovered that one ambassador was in fact Klingon, and that the tribbles didn't like him. That was so
yeah.
funny. That what, yeah, I think Gene Roddenberry did a lot of humor in Star Trek as well.
Yes, he trained well his writers, and they did a great job. The directors followed them, and everything went fine. We see Kirkwood when saw Scotty telling him some things like that. He always learned something new with each crewman of his. And Scotty is so unique like him.
Yeah, yeah,
Scotty is unique in his area of work, like Kirk is unique in his. So everyone is good in your specialty in that ship. It's fantastic.
yeah. And in that point, what I really love about it was in that episode is that they had to get lost of the tribbles, and Kirk was trying to find out what happened to the tribbles,
Yeah,
and Scotty said, "Well, I transformed of it, give it them to the Klingons." Yeah, that was just so funny.
and unfortunately, we didn't see the Klingon's face when the
No,
tribbles
yeah,
get there. We would love to see that.
yeah, that would be a funny, but
Oh
it
yeah.
was it is yeah. Like I said, I think Star Trek, especially TOS, has a lot of stories that they have told, and also like in the history, of course, but also in what society is going through, etc., etc., etc. And there are not much television programs or that are doing it like that way. In that way, Star Trek to us is like a hidden documentary.
Yeah, we in that future we will be more capable, we will be smarter, we will be more powerful in our techniques. We will be different from now, that's for sure, but we will be still human. We will have our humor sense. We will have our a motive to be happy. We will have uh, to our full emotions in all our capacity. We will be marrying. We will be making families. We will be progressing, prospering as mankind, and we will take all the good things we have with us.
One last question.
Yes.
What do you love about the Enterprise itself?
Oh, that was straight to the heart. Yes. The captain once said in one on those movies when they were still not knowing how his next ship will be after they destroyed the Enterprise. They were afraid to be a freighter or something very bad, like a ship, a secondary ship or something like that. And Kirk uh, calmed down everyone when he said, "A ship is a ship." So if you have a ship, if you had the wide space to go, but this ship is the Enterprise, the best technique, the best crew to run it, the best captain. You once you step inside that ship, you want to be the best in everything you do. Well, the Enterprise is an icon. The
True.
Enterprise is a way for mankind to go where no one has gone before. So this is what Enterprise is to me. It's a target. That ship is a dream in every version: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc., etc., etc. Give me an Enterprise and I can
Oh,
move the world.
do you remember that episode in TNG when Scotty was transformed back and he went to the hologram and he was the computer was asking which Enterprise do you want to like to see, and he
Yeah.
said my Enterprise, not A, B, C,
No,
or
no
D.
bloody A, no bloody
Yeah.
B or D. and he
Yeah.
and they and they gave us the most emotional scene everyone who loved Enterprise ever saw in an episode of TNG. That was wonderful.
Yeah, that's. I must say, Enterprise. Well, for me, it's Enterprise Day because I start watching Star Trek when TNG aired, and so I began with TNG, and I always have loved the Enterprise D, and also, but it's like now in my. I have to say, I have the original Enterprise C in my Star Trek Online game, and it's on my main tune. My fiance gave it to me, and I work with it. It's very spec'd up, but I really love the Enterprise, and I will always
Oh,
will be Enterprise. And for the listeners who doesn't know, I have said this in my intro text, but I am a big Trekkie. I'm a, or whole house is like a little Star Trek museum. But
oh,
at the moment, we are building a 70 centimeters Enterprise D and from Igomos, and it's already heavy. We just got issue 8. It's about every month you get one piece of the puzzle, and it's already heavy. The saucer section is almost ready, but it is already heavy. But if you see the pictures on my Facebook,
yes, I
uh,
see.
it's very beautiful. And when I convinced my fiance to do this because I know he liked to build models, but the Enterprise years always have been my favorite, and I said, you really need to do this for me. I know you like the Dreadnoughts, I know you like other spaceships, but you need to make this for me, you know.
Oh, you make a very good team. Congratulations.
Thanks. But yeah, it's the Enterprise. What you say is a big icon, and I
Yes.
think even if you don't are a fan, but just somebody who regularly or just watch an episode once a time on television or whatever, you know the Enterprise.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever see the Enterprise F,
Yeah, my
the
fiance,
Odyssey class?
yeah, my fiance loved the Enterprise F.
Yeah, me too. And every time we see an Enterprise, we see the best of we can do. So
Yes.
I love the Enterprise in any ways, any forms. The secret of the Enterprise to work is the technology about the warp drive, the transport, and all the systems that are inside it. The life support system are so many little systems working together, and it will be wonderful when mankind learns how to transform matter in energy and energy in matter. So the money goes away. So the we have everything to everyone. Everybody can work for better himself. So we need so much to learn,
Mm-hmm.
but we at least we know the way, and
Yeah.
we own that to Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly. And um, when you have that, what I really loved that was the episode also, um, and it is a TNG episode. That was when Data was exploring himself, and he was playing poker with those scientists from the
Yes,
future, but also with
and one of them was Rio.
yeah, but also Professor Hawking.
Yes, this one.
And I saw some documentary behind the scenes,
Yes,
and they were showing him around the set. I mean, Professor Hawkins,
yes.
and when they were showing him what they made of the warp drive, etc., he told
Mm.
them, "Guys, I'm already busy with that," and now I think I read that a few months ago. They are actually having a warp drive now.
I doubt that. I
Well,
doubt that because they can say many things to get more money from their founding. I heard about the Taurus. I heard about the polymagnetic motors, and they are all not feasible, not happening. If see if you have a warp drive working, you have energy to supply a whole country. You know,
mm-hmm,
this is the kind of power you can't keep to yourself. You can't keep to working to for one people, and the experience to make that as we see in Star Trek involve lots of antimatter, but and we don't have how to produce so many antimatter today. And if we had the collision of antimatter with matter will cause an explosion that will that can put a whole country in the dark ages again. So to say we have a working warp drive, I doubt it. Categorically doubt it.
thank you, Mark, for being my guest today again, and I hope to talk to you soon again.
No problem. I love it all this time, this wonderful time with you. Count on me, and all I can say is for you and your fiance. Live long, happy, and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
Don't forget happiness. It's important.
If you like this podcast, you can like and subscribe on all the platforms. You can also follow and comment on Podbean, Spotify, and Google Podcast, on social media, the Facebook group, the Discord server, and YouTube channel of Orinda Talks Fantasy and Sci-Fi. and on Twitter at OTFASP. Let me know what you think about this episode. In the next episode, we will talk about Star Wars. I am Orinda, and thank you for listening to Orinda Talks Fantasy and Sci-Fi. See you next time.